Hey, good morning, and welcome to SportsBeat Live, where we talk Royals with you and the fine folks at the Kansas City Star that I'm lucky enough to call my colleagues. Before introducing them, let me invite you, present a heartfelt invitation for you to join this conversation. Send us your questions and comments and talk Royals with us. And before we get started, let's thank our sponsor, the University of Kansas Health System. We'll hear from them later in the show. So this is the point where I switch screens and see who all my buddies are who join me on today's show. Oh, there's Sam with his mic muted. So Sam, I hope you I hope you're gonna get this figured out, and I don't think there's anything Beth or I can do to help you, but you're looking good, and and we just got the text message that Sam's internet went out. So it's just you and I. Listen, Lynn Worthy, who the Stars beat writer who covers the Royals for us on a daily basis, he is on his way to Tampa Bay and will report on the Royals-Rays series. Looking forward to that. And Vahe Gregorian will join us sometime during the show. Vahe had an appointment this morning, and so we'll be joined here by Sam pretty soon. I'll tell you what we'll do, though. We'll get things started with a little bit of a highlight. The last pitch thrown to a Royals batter since this happened on Sunday. Beth, let's roll it and see what happened on Sunday. How the Royals ended up beating the Detroit Tigers.
Now, Carlos Santana at the plate.
Hit well, center field, Jones back, it's a goner, and the Royals win it! Walk-off Santana!
Come through. First pitch, that ball was down and away at 97. He supplied the power. No question did Fulmer. Easy swing, and the ball jumped, and the crowd is going home happy here.
What a way to salute the Negro Leagues weekend.
Doubter.
So how about that? The Royals walked off the Detroit Tigers 3-2 on Sunday afternoon. And hey, Sam, how you doing, buddy?
I mean, it was literally like 5 seconds after you started talking, and then the internet just goes out for. I have no idea why.
Hey, it happens. It happens. I'm glad to see you. Glad you're here. We just watched a clip of the Carlos Santana walk-off home run.
Yeah, man.
And look, Beth and I were talking before we went on the air. The clip actually included the first part of the radio broadcast. That's Denny Matthews, and then it's Steve Physiak and Rex Hudler called the second part of this home run. So they just kind of meshed the clips together. And it occurred to me when I heard that. Those are moments that don't happen that often in baseball, and if you're an announcer, you better get it right. You know, it's one you don't want to botch. And they actually did a pretty good job. I don't know if if you have gotten to hear the call, but anyway, they did a nice job. And I was actually in Western Kansas listening to the game on the radio and heard Denny Matthews call. And what was really interesting about it was. So the ninth inning begins. The Royals are down 2-1. Merrifield leads off the ninth, and Denny is, hey, Vahe Gregorian has joined us. Mic check, Vahe. Mic check.
I was going to stop at Sam's house. 1, 2, 3. I was going to go over to Sam's house for this. Whoa! Inside the neighborhood.
He's pulling that's what we like to call a bador.
Yes, that's right. He's badoring right now. Yeah, bedoring. Anyway, Vahe, we're talking about the game on Sunday, the walk-off. You were there, so I wanted to get your impressions. But first, I was explaining, I was out in Western Kansas driving home and listening to the broadcast on the radio, and Denny Matthews actually opened the ninth with a premonition that the Royals were going to win the game because the Tigers had squandered so many scoring opportunities earlier in the game, and when those start to pile up, you just get a feeling for it. So, salute to Denny Matthews, who has seen a baseball game or two in his career and kind of knows to trust his feelings in situations like that. He actually sounded good, and that was absolute no doubter by Carlos Santana. I can't remember the last time, not the last time the Royals walked off, but the last time they reversed a deficit into a walk-off win. That doesn't happen too often.
It was really interesting because in one sense you could see, the Tigers had given them a chance, right? The Royals had kind of hung in there, and the Tigers kind of allowed them to hang in there. And if you just scratch together something, it might work out. But you also sort of felt like it had the makings of one of those just days that never happened. It just 3 hits and tedious, and they leave that homestand with a dud loss. So once Merrifield got on, though, you could kind of feel a little something stirring. And you might want to check me on this with Lynn Worthy, but I did refer to Santana as being a key at bat to Lynn next to me. I didn't really know what that meant. I didn't probably mean home run any more than I thought possible double play. But it was great, and it was a big moment as this team kind of keeps trying to sort of explain who it is to us.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm glad you went out on a limb and called it a key at bat. Down 1 in the 9th with what he on great on base guys up to the Royals. Well, it was bold.
Kind of, just like calling a shot. What can you say?
Denny and Vahe both. They got a feel for this game,
Hey, well, you were right. You nailed it. I think it turns out to be an important win. First of all, the Tigers, after sweeping the Royals, the previous time that they met and winning was it the first game of the series they won with the Cabrera grand slam off of Holland. Yeah. I think the Royals kind of needed to make a stand against a team that we think they're clearly better than, and to win a series. Look, I just thought I didn't know what to think. The series sweep by the Tigers came during that 11-game losing streak and was maybe the low point of the season for the Royals. But they win the game in walk-off fashion. It feels good. And before we get too much farther down the line with the importance of the game and the series, let's hear what Carlos Santana had to say about his big moment.
What was it like going up there in the 9th inning in that situation?
I mean, it's a tough game. We tried to figure out tie the game and think about winning the game. It's a tough game, 2-1, 9 inning. When I see Murph, he's in the base. So, I mean, I want to win the game.
Is there any nervousness, or I mean, you've been in that situation before?
No. I mean, it's like I know his tough game, I know his tough situation, but I'm not nervous. I mean, it's I had that situation before, and I try to be keep my body slow and focus to doing good.
Annie?
Did you think it was gone off the bat?
Today?
Did you think it was gone
off the bat? I talked to Savi and he told me, and I'm doing good, but it's a long drive and I'm running for something happen, try to make him go to second or third. But I know, and I'm making good contact.
You guys had struggled really to get anything going off of their starter today. How much confidence did you have in your offense to kind of come back there in the late innings?
We're confident. We never put a head down. I know we lost 11 games straight, but it's in the past. We forgot. We think it one day at a time, one game at a time, and you know, we do what we can do. I mean, it's a long season. Sometimes we good, sometimes we bad, but if you mentally and keep it head up, I think we're doing good.
Okay, that was Carlos Santana talking about his walk-off moment on Sunday. Vahe, you were there, and you asked the first question of Mike Matheny. I thought this was interesting. You wanted to capture the moment of that Santana provided, and sort of a big picture question, which you eventually got the answer to, I think, after asking it a second or third time. But Mike Matheny went right into like Chris Bubich, and wanted to talk about the pitching and overcoming some issues early for him, and I just thought it was interesting how Matheny wanted to drill down on a question that was, I think, a little more intended to be a little more broader.
Yeah, I think that's right, Blair. I think part of what happened was that I think the manager comes out usually expecting to talk about the starting pitcher right away. Seems like just part of the deal, and so he kind of went with it from the way he was going to go instead of with where the pitch came. But actually, the other thing that happened was I think he was explaining something that was meaningful, because I was sort of asking about, what the whole spectrum of emotions was in a win like that, especially with him being kicked out and all that other stuff going on. And I think what he was trying to do is just sort of make a point that stuck with me, which was, the win wasn't just about that moment, right? I mean, if Bubich doesn't get out of the first after, we left the bases were loaded after 4 of the first 5 guys got hits, 2 runs were in. He got out of that with not too much damage, just two runs, and that was it for the Tigers. And what it took to get to that, and the pinch hit, the sacrifice by Hanser Alberto, just little things like that kept them nibbling away and kind of right there. I think that was part of the point he was trying to make.
Yeah. Yep. Well, look, the victory gave the Royals the 2 out of 3, and you tack on the 2 that they swept from Milwaukee prior to that. So 4 out of 5 on the homestand, and they've won 6 out of 9 following the 11-game losing streak, following the 16-9 record that for a moment was the best record in baseball. Is this officially a tale of 2 teams? I mean, are we? What does having the best record in baseball, followed by the worst losing streak in baseball this year, followed by a manageable result against teams that they should match up well against? It leaves them 22-23 going into tonight's game at Tampa Bay. But Sam, what's the conclusion about the wild swings on this Royals team?
Yeah, what's funny is I've had a couple conversations with people, in the front office or whatever, and I think they're trying to figure that out. You know what I mean? Like I think they're trying to figure out exactly what this team is. They had some high expectations, not like Dodger expectations, but this is a team that they expected to win, and I think the 16-9 they were thinking, okay, this is maybe a better start than we anticipated, especially with some of the underperformances and Mondesi's injury, which there may be some news coming, by the way. This may be a big game tonight, is all I'm saying in that regard. And I think so overall, being right at 500, a game below when Mondesi is set to return, I think is a good thing. But God, they got to get that bullpen fixed. They cannot get through 117 more games, with the bullpen the way it is now. They need the starters to go a little bit deeper, and they need some more guys to step up and be reliable, because you just can't make it work with 2 guys that you can trust. And that's the biggest deal. And Mondesi will make a big difference. He'll make them better defensively. He'll make them better athletically. There'll be a week or 10 days or 14 days where he carries them offensively. Like the same way. Which game was it that Michael A. Taylor just flat out won? Was it one of the Milwaukee games?
One of the Milwaukee, yeah.
Yeah, where he hit the home run and he robbed the home run, and Mondesi will have some games like that. He'll have more like that. So, this is a team that can expect to get better, but they can't. They're not going to be better if they don't get the bullpen fixed.
And look, it would behoove them to start that tonight because they're matching up against a Rays team that not only has won 11 in a row, but in 7 of those games they've scored at least 9 runs.
Yeah,
they are killing the ball. They just swept the Blue Jays, a good Blue Jays team, and hung 14 on them in an 11-inning victory yesterday. The Rays are the type of team that can wear out a pitching staff and maybe affect it for games beyond the series. It's it is really important for starters to go deeper into games and what we've seen for most of the season. Into the 6th, into the 7th inning for these starters. Some good news this past week. The Royals did get Kyle Zimmer back, and what a every time he takes the mound, I'm thinking it's a first of all personal victory for Zimmer, but I also feel confident. Right, he's one of the few guys that you feel confident in when he takes the mound in relief for the Royals. Hey, Mike Garcia, greetings from Puerto Rico. Mike, good morning, and thanks for tuning in. Listen, Mike says Royals players might have some fond memories of Tropicana Field. How can we forget Carlos Beltran 100th career home run on August 9th, 2003? I don't remember that. That's great, Mike. Or Salvi's MLB debut. I do remember that he made his debut there. And, of course, Danny Duffy breaking the Royals record for strikeouts in a game with 16. So what's the next feat the Royals will accomplish in St. Pete? I don't know. But those are some darn good ones. I can remember during the Royals run in the post in 13, 14, and 15, they had a lot of success at Tropicana Field, not as much lately. So Brian Hall comments the Rays were the one team that they felt like it completely overmatched the Royals so far this year. True. But didn't, correct me if I'm wrong, did the Royals avoid getting swept by the Rays? Didn't they win the final game of that series, or am I thinking something else?
Yeah, I think that's right. And the thing that stuck out to me about that series was just that, like, the Royals had to play perfect. They couldn't, and maybe I'm BS here because the game that they won, they actually made an error or two. But it just, what it looked like to me very much was like one team that just had a kind of a thin path, and everything had to go right. And if it didn't, then the Rays, they're not going to let you, get to many 3-0 counts. They're a team that's going to, win on those margins. And the thing is, like, they don't even have, like, they have Wander Franco has been the best prospect in baseball for what seems like forever. Right. And they're still not calling him up. You know what I mean? They're 28-19 or whatever their record is. And they've got more dudes, who are being blocked right now. It's really an incredibly well-run organization.
I think they're up to 30-19 with this 11-game winning streak. It's incredible. And let's go back that game that the Royals did win back in April. They won 9-8. Salvi that was a stretch where Salvi was playing really well. He got a walk-off single. Yeah. The Rays scored 1 in the top of the 9th to take the lead, and the Royals scored 2 in the bottom of the 9th to win the game 9-8. So at least they had some team they've defeated already this year. So okay, Beth, let's take a break, and when we come back, we got some other topics we need to cover. So let's take this break and hear from the University of Kansas Health System.
The Kansas City Royals lineup is backed up by the region's strongest team in healthcare, the University of Kansas Health System. We both suit up with one goal in mind: to win. The University of Kansas Health System, official healthcare provider of the Royals.
Hey, we're back talking with Sam Mellinger and Vahe Gregorian. We're talking Royals with you as well. Please send us your questions and comments, and we'll get them on the air. So, yep, Royals at the Trop for a short series, and they come home next week. And for the first time a full capacity will be allowed at Kauffman Stadium. I guess the better way to say it is there is no limitation on attendance for the games from now on, and it's been a gradual increase of percentages that allowed at Kauffman Stadium. What did we start at? Something below 50%, and now 50% currently. And they've had a couple of crowds that seemed to be around half the stadium, 16, 17,000. And starting with, I think it's the Pirates that come in early next week, and that's going to be the first time that the Royals will allow full capacity at Kauffman Stadium. So we've reached a kind of a threshold, and it'll be fantastic to see bigger crowds at the K. I'll be curious to see just how many seats are filled and how comfortable people are going to be out there. But let's just talk about the notion of crowds at Kauffman Stadium. Sam, I know that you. I remember it was last fall that you went to a Sporting Kansas City game. It was the first time you had been to an event where fans had been allowed in at all. And even though it was just a couple of thousand, that made a big impression on you.
It was unbelievable. And I think it was 2,500 or 2,300 or something like that. And it's one of those things where expectations matter. You know what I mean? And I walked in there kind of thinking, whatever, it'll be cool to see some fans, but it's 2,000 people in a stadium that holds, what's that place, about 20? You know, it's going to feel
right at 20, yeah.
JV, high school game or something like that. And it didn't at all. And there's a science behind that people have pointed out to me. There's some sort of, I don't know what it's called, but there's a science that 20,000 people do not make 10 times as much noise as 2,000 people. It's just, I don't know what it is, but that's this. And anyway, just that spontaneous cheering of just like complete strangers who are, for the most part, who are bonded by this thing that's happening in front of them. And nobody knows that in 10 seconds, now they're all yelling and cheering. It like overtook me. And like, and even, I mean, literally, like, I'm gonna get like goosebumps just talking about like how that felt. And you know what? I felt that the other day. I'll do this real quick since this is a Royals podcast, but flipping between the golf, the PGA on Sunday.
Oh, the Phil,
and,
yeah. Phil,
and the crowd on the 18th and all that. And then when that was over, I flipped over in the Knicks Hawks game, and Madison Square Garden sounded like John Starks, in the 1990s teams. And like, I haven't heard that sort of noise on TV in a while. And, next on Monday, they're not going to have 38,000. That's not going to be a sellout against the Pirates. But I do think it's cool that, I don't know how many people will be there, but it'll be more than have been. And it's just, there's just something mental about, no limitations, let's do this. Like, it's been a long road for everybody. And it's just I get corny and romantic and all that stuff about baseball too. And I can't wait. And Sporting is going to have their first no limitations crowd. I think they play Saturday night, right? So it's just,
I think that's right.
We're getting back.
Yeah, we're getting back. It's a gradual thing, not like an opening day where boom, it's just you schedule the day and everybody comes and it's going to be 38,000. It's just been a gradual increase.
Yeah.
Which probably the way it had to be done in the pandemic. I don't know. I find myself thinking a little bit about, is everybody going to be comfortable coming back? Will there be, what's the percentage of fans who, I don't want to say season ticket holders, but kind of regular Royals, fans who just still will stay away or certainly, if you go, you're going to wear masks if you're not comfortable with it. I think we're going to see some element of that as well.
Yeah, there's no question. We all come from different places on this and we're all guessing to some degree. But what I think about even more than people who are just like crowds, not for me, not yet. And that's obviously there. But I also think about like, we've all had to like create new habits and, and we've gotten used to a certain, doing different things, whether it's just being on the deck more or bike ride, whatever. Like we just created new habits and I don't think you can just like do it like that and everybody all of a sudden is going to want to go. There'll be some of that, I think there's some people who cannot wait and would pay, exorbitant amounts of money just to go experience a baseball game in person without crowd limitations, all that. But I mean, we've all handled the last 15 months or whatever differently. And I think there's a lot of people who are freaked out about crowds, but there's just a lot of other people who, you know what, I've started to do different things, and I've got different ways to do it.
Yeah, look, I know it's a small thing, but we have our pile of masks by a little table near our front door, just so you won't forget to take one out as you leave. And it's just going to be getting used to not picking one up as you leave the door at some point. That'll happen for people in my house. So, look, part of it, what we're talking about, has to do with vaccinations, and Vahe wrote a great column about this. Yeah. So we are efforting or endeavoring to get Vahe back, and I think he's on the threshold. If this were in his parlance, if this were Star Trek, he'd be phasing in, and he's almost here. Vahe, just jump in when you can. We're talking about vaccinations and teams' approaches, and Vahe is gone again. But all right, Sam, it's just you and I. Yep. We'll.
My dog is barking.
That's good. Yeah, we thought Vahe was going to help us out here, but no, couldn't. But like I said, Vahe wrote a terrific column about this, where he spoke to Dayton Moore, talked to University of Missouri coaches. Got quotes from Bill Self, and we've heard from Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes about this, about about vaccinations. And I heard some stats this weekend. I think in the United States, we're approaching 39% of people fully vaccinated, and 60% of people with at least one of the shots. Sports has an interesting platform for this, because one of the reasons is the 85% rule that we're seeing in Major League Baseball, right? If teams can reach 85% of immunization with the shots, they can relax rules. And that's with their players, front office personnel. I assume it's people around the dugout. Hey, Vahe, you with us? He's getting there. All right, we'll continue. We'll carry on. So not every baseball team, in fact, less than half of baseball teams are not at that 85% threshold. And we heard over the weekend from the Chicago Cubs general manager, who's disappointed that it's moving so slowly with his club. I think I saw it was 14 out of 30 teams that were at 85%, and I don't think the Royals are one of those 14 teams. So it's just I don't know how to describe it. It's the ultimate individual decision whether to get a vaccine, and yet it affects so many other people besides yourself in the clubhouse, in the dugout. And we're not talking about fans anymore. We're just talking about these teams. And I wonder if we're going to see something like teams that are that have surpassed this 85% threshold being, I don't know, a little more successful than teams that that don't approach that, and might have some issues with teammates who aren't getting vaccines. I don't know if you've talked to anybody about this, Sam, but I find it it's certainly an interesting time and place for baseball.
Yeah, there's no question. I've talked to here and there, but learned a lot from reading that column that you're referencing that Vahe wrote the other day, and it sounds to me like the Royals are handling it the way that these things should be handled. And I don't think the Royals are like on a pedestal here. I think most teams are probably handling it in a similar way, which is you can't demand, like you can't, and you shouldn't. And, research with human behavior, like you're more likely to be able to convince somebody of your case by being understanding, empathetic, not demanding, because then that just pushes them further away. And if somebody doesn't want to get it for whatever reason, then that's, it's their choice. But it is, I think what you're talking about, like the incentives, I mean, it's a tangible competitive advantage. If there's a breakout, like with the Yankees that we've seen, and, they didn't have to do what teams did last year, when there was an outbreak. of cases, and it was, mild symptoms. Some had no symptoms, and that's the vaccine working. So I think that'll be a huge test, right? Like if you're on a team and you're below that 85% threshold, and there's an outbreak, and you got the vaccine, but now people who didn't are getting it, and the team has to get shut down, and now you're in a hotel room, and the season's paused and all these things. I think that's that could create some conflict,
Yeah.
But again, like there's no, you got to respect other people's decisions on this. I think if you're on a team with them.
You do, and I think, but I think the people who are deciding not to get vaccinated have to understand that they're affecting people other than themselves in this scenario. And we talk about sports as the life lessons of sports, and one of which is camaraderie and team building and all that. And this is confronted with a situation that nobody in the history of sports, at least in the last 100 years, have had to deal with. This might be the ultimate test of that sort of togetherness of a team. Mm-hmm. And it's happening in baseball now, but these rules are going to apply to the NFL as well, and in other sports. So we'll see what happens.
Real quick, I do think in the NFL, I think we'll see more vaccines in the NFL. I just think that there's more of a fall in line culture in football, and it's also fewer different cultures, and it's more of this. For the most part, these are American kids that all went to college and just have a somewhat similar. I get there's city kids, there's country kids, suburban kids, all that, but there's less sort of cultural diversity, and there's more. Again, more kind of top down, listen to your coach, do what everybody says sort of culture than there is in baseball. So I wonder if the NFL will have, a higher vaccine rate than we've seen in Major League Baseball so far.
That's an interesting point. And of course, the NFL, as it had the advantage last year in timing, has an advantage this time in timing as well, at least when it comes to the start of the season. Mm-hmm. So, okay, let's end it here. And Sam, I really appreciate you jumping on and sticking around, and Lynn Worthy, like I said, on the road to Tampa Bay, where he'll cover the series starting tonight. Vahe Gregorian spent some time with us, had a few technical issues, but that's okay, and it happens. And big thanks, of course, to Beth Welsh, our producer, and the University of Kansas Health System. Please join us again at this time next week, Tuesdays at 10 a.m., where we talk Royals with you all, and enjoy your comments and questions as well. So take care, and we'll see you again a week from today.